because you can solve the problem much quicker. You can get to the point where you can take some action to either fix the problem that is coming down the pike in the future, or to help your friend whose mom has cancer find some sort of treatment or even cure that the doctors, think don't exist. There is a lot of power as an individual, but there's even more power when you take this into a group, because the possibilities are limitless of what can be accomplished when you operate as a group.
Well, I have to be bluntly honest from time to time, and when I first started hearing about remote viewing and the fact that its genesis was in the intelligence world, the military, that was pretty much a turnoff, as if developing this skill was going into the hands of people whose motives I question. What is encouraging to me is that if this skill set, and if they're the ones that have refined this to a duplicatable process, the putting those skills in the hands of the conscious makes a lot more sense than leaving it to those in the world of espionage to figure out. So
I would tend to agree with you on that. What's interesting is that people with ulterior motives don't even stick with remote viewing. It has its own sort of, I guess you would call it in the information technology vernacular, an error-correcting algorithm. If you have an ulterior motive, typically people of that ilk don't even stick with remote viewing because it is a skill. They have to learn. I guess if you have an evil intent, you have to really work at it in order to get results with remote viewing. In any case, it just doesn't work for you.
Yeah. Well, I have a particular refined belief that's probably just my own, but I think most people learn skills with the best of intentions, but sometimes they're not aware of their own basic motivation. And I think that's where we as humanity are beginning to grow and understand that we have to take everybody into consideration. Talk about the protocols in remote viewing that allow you to be conscious of not doing harm. How do you bring that picture or that protocol in, or that idea into your protocol?
Actually, remote viewing is rather agnostic. It doesn't really have a philosophy to it as far as do no harm and whatnot, but I think the people themselves bring that to it. In other words, you learn how to remote view, and in my case, my impetus for becoming a remote viewer was in order to capitalize, to be, the ultimate American-style capitalist and capitalize on things that are going to occur in the future. You can say that that's very selfish and self-centered and whatnot, but it actually was. And what it ended up happening is something completely different. It wasn't the actual protocol itself that made it happen, but it was the understanding that by doing this and actually getting the information, it defies most scientific principles and ideas and theories, because you're doing something that theoretically, from a science perspective, shouldn't be possible. So this means that there's something greater going on.
Is remote viewing still used, in your opinion, in ways that are unethical? And is there a self-correcting mechanism in the protocols that renders the techniques harmless?
That is what I was getting at before when I was saying there was this sort of error-correcting algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
If a person has, evil intent, they typically do not practice enough. They don't stay, let's face it, I guess evil people, they want to have immediate gratification and they go for the easy route because that's, I guess, the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
It automatically weeds those people out because of the work that's involved. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you or your audience. Remote viewing is something that you have to learn, and it's hard work. You have to stick with it. It's a skill. It's not like necessarily riding a bicycle where you learn how to ride it once and you can get on a bike at any point in the future and just ride a bike. You learn how to remote view, but it's a skill that degrades, just like pianists have to continue to practice. Otherwise, they lose their chops. They can't really continue to play as well as they could maybe 10 years ago when they practiced every day.
I've got you.
So it's something that you have to stick with. So the protocol itself sort of weeds out those with ulterior motives or evil intent because they can't stick with it. They're not the type of people that stick with things, I guess is a good way to look at it. So it's fortunate in that regard. Because there isn't I've never heard of anybody planning a murder or a bank robbery or anything like that by using remote viewing.
No, I think when you understand the principles of connectedness, most of us are beyond the point of wanting to gain at all costs, and
right.
At least this audience is clearly there. But I'm encouraged.
And that's what remote viewing is just another avenue to that same concept. Like I said, it's what made me realize that there is a greater thing that we are all interconnected with. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Well, I think what I'm encouraged by in hearing you talk, Michael, is the fact that there are areas wide open to development of using these skills to genuinely help people, whether it's looking for remedies for allergies or finding answers to why your car isn't running properly.
It's mundane, I agree, but it works.
Uh-huh. And if the world is as connected as you are telling me it is, and I believe it is, and we can develop these skill sets in a fairly easy way, it leaves opportunity for us to build new forms of community, new forms of connectedness. And what has to come from our recognizing our connectedness is more peace and love on the planet, as we realize anytime we hurt someone else, we hurt ourselves.
And that is absolutely correct.
And so the principles are coming full force in high speed into everybody's consciousness right now that we are a worldwide community. The days of thinking ourselves as unconnected individuals is quickly coming to an end. You have, if you would, I want to help our listeners too with understanding how to get information about your remote viewing, the Chronos version, and your website. If you would, give us the website, and then I will make sure that link is on our website also.
Okay, there's actually 3 websites that I want to direct you to. One of them is called thervc.org. So that's thervc.org. thervc.org. And when you go there, you can find out what the Remote Viewing Consortium is doing, what our plans are, our goals are, our work ethic. It goes into much of the things that we talked about here today. rvchronos.com is our commercial website where people can go to sign up for the RV Chronos crash course so they can get those free lessons. There's 7 lessons in all, and that is rvchronos.com. And then we just signed a distribution and marketing contract with Remote Viewing Products. This is the same company that markets Paul Smith's and Ed Dames' DVD courses in remote viewing work. And that one is remoteviewingproducts.com.
Great. And I'll make sure that those links are on our website. So if most of our audience, or a good deal of our audience, listens to this show through our on-demand system. So by the time you listen to this, at the end of the interview, if you look back, you'll find those links easily available to you. So just a fascinating area, Michael. I realize that you stepped into this, I think you said about 4 years ago. Is that correct?
Yes, about 4 years ago.
Isn't that quite a speedy evolution?
It actually was. I did probably way more work than I was supposed to do. When you just start out, they recommend that you only do maybe 1 or 2 sessions a week. Well, I was doing 10 times that in the amount of time that I worked in remote viewing. And in my second year, I was able to go actually do a professional development course with Ed Dames. And on the second day of that course, he said, okay, you know what? You're good enough that I'm going to make you a member of my intelligence agency. So I'm also a member of the Matrix Intelligence Agency, which is the agency that goes around looking for fugitives from justice and things like that.
And as a member of these groups, are you called on regularly, or is it how often do you actually get to participate in projects?
Oh, it's constant. It's what I do full-time now. Everything that I do now is based around remote viewing, so I am constantly working with Ed and people on my team and the financial group. That's all I've been doing. I'm actually very busy.